Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone. This session we would be dealing with citizen-centric interface in governance. The lecture 7 would cover upon this particular aspect. For development administration, for the development and the growth of the economy of our country, we studied, we dealt with a lot of concepts, lot of models, lot of involvement of the agencies also. Now, the major agency, or I can say the major force that can bring in a transformation in our system are the citizens. So, it is just not that government has to function, give the schemes, but to whom the government has to give the schemes to. So, they are the citizens. So, there should be an interface. There should be an interface between the government as well as the citizens for a good effective governance. So, what is important in the citizen interface, citizen centric? We should be responsive, collaborative. It should be a technological driven atmosphere, an equitable governance, insight and participation, third party friendly and performance measurement. So, these are the basic features which we need to take care of, the government has to take care of, because citizens will have to be responsive, they need to be technologically driven, and there should be an equitable distribution of the wealth, the sources of income and everything. So, citizens have to be treated very justly for the government to implement their schemes and policies. So, the 17 SDGs of 2030 agenda formulated by the United Nations, it summarizes the citizen-centric administration in totality. The 73rd Amendment of the Constitution of India, it also speaks that of the citizen centrism, that is, citizens' participation is very much important. And all modern democratic societies are moving towards citizen centric, and there is a principle of minimum government which has to be noticed here, minimum government and maximum governance. So, we have a minimum government here and maximum governance, which means that the staffs are there, but then governance measures should be very good. We have the government should be a facilitator, but then governance measure, it should be very magnified, it should be maximum. So, this is how the SDG can be developed. So, citizens are more important. So, there should be a collaborative effort from the citizen, the responsibility should also be vested in the hands of the citizens, and then there should be a good participation, there should be a technologically driven atmosphere, environment that has to be provided to the people for a very good growth and development. How did we have the citizen-centric governance in India? So, I again give you a timeline here. In 1964, we had the Santanam Committee. Santanam Committee was to check upon the vigilance measures, the corruption measures. So, Central Vigilance Commission was actually framed where the corruption measures will have to be taken care of. So, to remove the corruption, this particular committee was enforced. So, that is in 1964. Then we had the first ARC, that is the Administrative Reforms Commission in 1966, where they stressed or emphasized upon the Lokpal, the system of Lokpal to remove the corruption as such. So, accordingly every year 1970, 1976, 1998, you find a lot of establishment of Department of Electronics, setting up of NIC, the review of administrative laws, and then finally comprehensive. In 2002, we have comprehensive website of citizen charters, and in 2009, the second Administrative Reforms Committee report also was also submitted. So, citizen charter also gained importance in 2005. So, this is the emergence of citizen-centric governance in India. We are heading towards what is called as the good governance. So, good governance should be technologically driven. Good governance should have the participation of the people. Good governance should have the decision making taking place between the government as well as the people. So, it is then we have a efficient governance in India. So, this is actually the timeline which can help us to understand the citizen-centric governance in India. What is the principle? Every concept that we take up will have its principles. Principles are very important in the governance aspect also. So, let it be a financial agency, let it be an international agency, or let it be any kind of a model that we have. It has its very own principles. In the same way, the principles are also prevalent for citizen-centric governance. So, here it is a rule of law. Rule of law, it speaks on how we have to bring in equality before the eyes of law. Everybody should be treated equally. Let it be justice in providing the wealth, providing the goods, delivery of services and goods. So, rule of law is quite applicable here. 2, making the institutions very vibrant. Who can make the institutions vibrant? It is the citizen. How can they make it vibrant? Through their employment. An institution can be vibrant because of the citizens when employment opportunities are given to them. And they are also accountable. They have to be responsive for their actions and deeds. So, that is the second aspect which has to be taken care of. And active participation of the citizens is required. How can the citizens show the participation? They can show the participation through various measures like giving the government their opinions. If a scheme is being implemented, whether it is a good scheme or not, the drawbacks of the scheme, the benefits of the schemes can be highlighted to the government. So, there should be an active participation. Awareness through awareness systems. Presently, we find the youth coming forward in many awareness programs. So, that is very much important. That is where we find the active participation of citizens. And then transparency. Now, these three we see that the governments and the citizens together work on. Now, the next three, it is transparency, civil service reforms, and the ethics in governance. These three are with the government. It is vested in the hands of the government. Transparency, the government should also be transparent in what kind of schemes that they wish to provide the people, what amount of finance is involved in it. That transparency should be there. How much financial aid can be provided to the people. So, that transparency and accountability should be with the government also. And civil service reforms is a bureaucratic structure. The bureaucracy also requires a revamp. We need to think how the bureaucrats should carry out their functions very efficiently. From the lower level to the topmost level, the work has to be carried out very successfully in order to reach out to the citizens, because bureaucrats are the ones who reach to the people in their field study. They are the ones who directly reach the citizens. So, they understand the needs and choices of the people, the citizens, before they report it to the higher officials. So, civil service reforms are required here. The training methodology, before a person becomes a civil servant, the training methodology adopted should also be changed a bit, because we have a lot of changes have been undergone by the country, and so the reforms in civil service is also required, where we need to include ICT here. Ethics in governance is the code of conduct. Whose code of conduct? It is the code of conduct of the executives, the branches of the government. They too need to have a code of conduct, how to behave, how to act, how to treat. So, everything has got an ethical behavior here. So, ethics is involved in governance. And moreover, we can find that the citizens, when the government deals with the citizens, these ethics have to be fulfilled in order to have a proper governance in the system. Then police reforms. Law and order is also very important. Police reforms, many years, it is actually many years when the police reforms have not taken place, which is very important right now. We find in some states where the police commissioners give certain preferences for the lady police officers, relieving them from duty at night time and taking care of their benefits. So, certain reforms which they can do it at their level has also been happening, but ultimately the structure or the organization or the perks and compensatory benefits to be given to the police is also to be taken care of, that is through law and order. So, that is again one of the aspect, because police also deal with the citizens. So, they should also be treated good. Then evaluation of quality of governance. We need certain indicators, performance indicators. Certain parameters are very much necessary to determine the quality of governance. We need to evaluate that quality. Governance is carried out, but how to measure them? What are the parameters that can help us to measure the governance, and what are the parameters that can be useful to evaluate the governance? So, that is also important. And last is the principle of subsidiarity. That is, what are the subsidiary forces or the allied forces which can bring in the inclusive development here. So, all these aspects, these are the principles of citizen centric governance. Citizen centric in the sense the government focuses completely on the citizens. It is for the people that the government is focusing. So, the government has to conduct this governance. So, governance, we can say we have e-governance today. E-governance where there is a governance measure between one department and another department within the government, which we call it as G to G, and then the government handling with the business forces. So, G to B, and then government to the citizens, which is G to C. So, these three aspects are very important in terms of governance. So, when we talk about citizen centric governance, we involve the citizens in the governance as well as how the government treats the citizens, how it draws the attention of the citizens, it draws the participation of the citizens, and the schemes how it can reach out to the citizens. So, that kind of a governance is what is required by the government. So, it has to fulfill all these principles when the governance happens. Citizens' participation. Today we have a very good concept called engaged governance. Initially it was citizen participation, but today we have this engaged governance also. Engaged governance is where the citizens are brought in, they are also taken care of, they take part in the decision making along with the government also. That is where you have the youth parliament, the mock panchayat system, mock parliaments are being conducted, and where some youth are a main force who sit in the Panchayat Raj also, and they hear and they make decisions also and then pass it on to the higher authority. So, this is happening very much, and where we involve the citizen participation. So, what is required for a citizen to participate? If a citizen is seeking information, it is the duty of the government to give them the information, and that is the reason we have what is called as the Right to Information Act. Every citizen has all the right to get the information of what is required by them. So, citizens seeking information should be provided with the information. 2. Citizens should give suggestions. How can the citizens reach out to the officials or the executives for the suggestions? That is why we have the media, we have the newspaper, we have the television, so we have radio. So, all these form a source where the suggestions can be offered by the citizens to the government. The government will also have to take in what is necessary, how the demands can be fulfilled. The government will have to take care of that also. So, citizens can offer suggestions, they can seek the information. Third one is demanding better services. If in a particular place an infrastructure is not available, it is the duty of the government to provide them. But how will the government know that this particular place does not have this kind of an infrastructure? So, that is where the citizens can demand a better service through the media. So, they need to think about these aspects in demanding the better service. So, it can be the transport service, the healthcare facilities, where at some places of late we find a lot of quacks who are coming up. So, that should be removed. As I said, the technology is becoming very sometimes it also has its drawbacks where they are self-made doctors. So, that should be avoided. People learn to do surgeries watching the channels from YouTube, which is very bad. That should not be there. So, we need better services. What is required, where the hospital facilities, the treatment facilities should be provided. The citizens demand such things, it is also necessary. Fourth one, citizens holding service providers and government is accountable to them. So, they are the service providers, citizens are the service providers. So, citizens get the service from the government. So, the government is actually the service provider, but the citizens are the ones who seek that provision from the government. So, and the government should be accountable to them. So, when the scheme reaches out to them, how they take it up and what are the measures that the government has to take up. So, all this the citizen will have to mention. Then active citizens participation, social audit. Everywhere you have audit. What is this audit? We have a performance indicator. We indicate how the success of the schemes are, how the welfare plans are, how the policies are. So, there is an indicator measure. So, the auditing is the schemes which are given or are being funded, which is being given to the state government, whether it reaches to the people through the grassroots level of the governance, has to be audited. Is it actually reaching out to the people, or is it being amassed in between, is what is to be audited. So, social audit is very important in order for the citizen to participate in all the services. Enabling women's participation and the physically challenged also. So, women's participation is being initiated today. Women want themselves to be treated very equally, and as Gandhiji said, women have to be treated as queens, but then today women, they prefer not to be treated as queens, but they want to be treated equally, they want to be treated at par. So, that is the situation today. So, in that case, women's participation, where can we find the women's participation? You find women in very high positions. Some of them have become councillors, some of them head the financial institutions, some of them have become the CEOs of big companies also. So, women participation is also very important here. So, this is the way, these I can say these are the major ways or the methods where we can seek the participation of the citizens. And of course, the differently challenged people can also be roped in, and there are also drawbacks, that is, there are certain services, certain facilities are not provided to such section of the community. So, their demands also have to be taken up by the government, and certain provisions should be there. So, we have certain acts which focus only on that group of the people. So, we have been seeing what is the citizen centric governance, what are the features involved in that, what is the methodology to be adopted for the citizen-centric governance. Now we go ahead with what are the tools that are required. Tools are nothing but the techniques in order to achieve the citizen-centric governance. So the first one is the RTI Act, which emerged in 2005. So when a citizen has to participate, information has to be given to the citizen. Only then the citizen can participate. It is as simple as that. So that is why we have this Right to Information Act in 2005. So this Right to Information Act ensures transparency and accountability in the functioning of every public organization. So if you have any clarification or any information to be sought about any aspect, an RTI can be filed, and within 15 days you get the information about your query. You get an answer, you get a reply for your query. So Right to Information Act is completely based on that. So it's only when information is shared with the citizen can the citizen participate. Second one is a citizen charter. Citizen charter, what are the objectives? One, it aligns public service with citizens' expectation. So the government's focus is to provide benefits for the people. So when the government provides the services to the people, automatically it would feel that it has met the expectation of the citizen. But ultimately, people are the ones who can never be satisfied. There is nothing called as a self-actualization today. The needs keep increasing day by day. If the government is providing you with one facility, the citizen will expect a facility little higher than what is being provided. So that is one factor which has to be considered. But here it should align with the public. The public service should align with the citizen's expectation. So expectations can be minimal, that is, what is the basic essential aspect? Your health, your shelter, the clothing, good food, good water, good sanitation. So these are the basic aspects which the government can provide you with. Employment, they can give you the chance, they can give you the opportunities, but it is the role or the duty of the citizen to tap those opportunities to seek employment. So here the first one is to align the public service with citizen expectations. 2, determine the performance. So they have to determine the performance. Performance of what? Performance of their policies. If a law is being enforced, it is a duty of the citizen to abide by the laws. So that shows the performance of that particular law. If a policy is being provided to the people, they have to abide by such policy. If certain mission projects are being taken, like your Swachh Bharat or Clean India or WASH, so we have to practice that. Only then we can indicate, we can find an indicator for its performance. So that is the second aspect. Third, a time bound. You cannot prolong with this for a long time. We should have a time bound facility, and people must get accustomed to that so that we can move on to the next one. Any projects that are taken by the government for the citizens should have a time restriction. If it has to be completed within 3 years, if it has to be completed within 5 years, that time constraint should be fulfilled. That time bound factor has to be considered by the government in fulfillment of that project. So, and moreover, if that particular system is automatically fit, it automatically fits in the system or the environment, then the government need not worry about it and it can go on to the next project. So it should be a time bound aspect, and people must also get accustomed to it. And then transparency. Transparency is very important. Transparency, accountability. There should be a two-way process. The people should also be transparent about their utilization of funds, and the government should also be transparent about allotment of funds. So the transparency should exist in a two-way process. So these are the factors which the Citizen Charter mentions. Then we have the Consumer Protection Act. It facilitates, it's a sort of grievance redressal. When a consumer finds that the goods and services that he receives from the market is not up to the mark, or he finds some adulteration, in that case they can file a suit on the basis of Consumer Protection Act in the subordinate court, the Consumers Court. So, they can get a justice they can surely get a justice if the facts are being proved. So, Consumer Protection Act is where the food is secured, your right to have a healthy life is actually secured. So, it was passed in 1986 to protect the interest of the consumers and facilitates fast and inexpensive grievance redressal in specified cases. There were situations where some of the carbonated drinks which was consumed by certain consumers, certain insects, certain reptiles were found inside that. So, the consumer had all the rights to go and file a case and asked for a compensation. If at all he had drunk, he would have died. So, this should not be prevalent in the sector, in the market, or this should be avoided. A measure should be taken to see to that this does not happen in future. So, this is a kind of a protection act the courts can also provide the consumers. We have now the digitalized citizen-centric governance. This is the way from governance to good governance. Now, let us see how the link between the development administration and governance happens. So, development administration, we need a quick service, prompt delivery of goods. So, when these two has to be carried forward, we require e-governance. We require a digitalized citizen-centric governance. Citizens should be highlighted. It should be an easy process, and only then the citizens will get involved with the other policies or the schemes which are being given to them. So, digitalized citizen-centric governance is also important. The new digital environment offers the opportunities for more collaborative and participative relations. How does it happen? Now, here it is actively shape political priorities, collaborate in the design of public services, and participate in their delivery to provide more coherent and integrated solutions to complex channels. So, let us see the first point, which is actively shaping the political priorities. When we have to shape the political priorities, the government has its own priority. If it is a citizen-centric, if it has to reach the citizens in this way, the government prioritizes what is the process, what is the channel through which this can reach to the people. So, it actively shapes the political priorities. Second one is in the collaboration of designing the public services. Does it require a change? Should it be fast? If it is an educational system, it has to be a prompt service which has to reach the children at large, and how far it can reach them, and what is the system that can change, bring out a change in the students. So, all that has to be taken care of. So, collaborate the designing has to be different. If it is required, the teachers' training has to be improved. So, all that has to be taken care of. The collaboration should be there, and participate in the delivery to provide more coherent and integrated solutions for complex challenges. So, everything should have a solution. It is not that problems are there and no solutions. Solutions are required because complexities increase day by day. Let it be from the social context, economic, environmental, cultural. So, any context, the problems are many, but then we have to have a solution for all these complex problems. So, these four are the major aspects which the digitalized citizen-centric governance state, but ultimately we do have certain challenges. What are the challenges? The challenges are strategizing and organization around units. We do not have any strategies. Even if we have a strategy, implementing the strategy becomes a difficult process. Why? Because of the increasing population, and secondly, where we have illiteracy. So, these two actually hinder or they form the barrier for strategic methods to be adopted. So, strategizing is one of the major challenges faced by the government. And next one is organization around units. We have the MSME. Now, if they contribute funds or they help the people to come up, provide employment opportunities to complete a paper or any the follow up of a particular scheme has to be taken care of in a very fast manner. But then what happens is everything slows down every stage. So, we find the challenges of the digital governance, which includes the strategizing and organization around units. Now, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, which is an international agency which we studied about. So, they have given us certain recommendations. Let us see what are the recommendations. 1. Ensure great transparency, openness and inclusiveness. They focus on inclusiveness, bring out all the marginalized sections of the community into picture. Second one, encourage engagement and participation of public, private and the corporate social stakeholders in policy making and public service design and delivery. So, you need to engage and you need the participation of these three groups, that is the public, the private as well as the corporate social. So, who can provide services to the people. So, that is the second point, which is a recommendation given by OECD. Third is a data driven culture in the public sector. We need to create data. Data management systems are very poor. We have a lot of information, but data storage is very poor. So, we need to create a data driven system, because this is very important for us to know the development and the growth process that is happening in our country. So, to create a data driven culture in the public sector is very important. Fourth, the risk management approach has to address the digital security and privacy issues. With the technology here, we have as many drawbacks, as many disadvantages of the technology also, where the data is being hacked. The security does not prevail there in maintaining the data, in storing the data. So, in that case, the risk management has to cover on how to maintain the privacy. Today, we have the social media systems, but then through the social media, many informations are being revealed and it reaches out to the people at a very fast pace. But then people start hacking your data, your email, everything can be hacked very fast. So, that has a risk management system has to be developed. Next is to secure a good leadership and political commitment to the strategy through a combination of efforts aimed to promote inter-ministerial coordination and collaboration. So, every minister, every bureaucrat, every politician should have a commitment to work. They need to work based on a strategy. There should be an understanding between the various departments, various ministries, and so we should promote an inter-ministerial coordination and collaboration there. So, if it is a Department of Finance or Department of Social Welfare, they should have a good understanding between the two and for a strategic solution to be provided. And coherent use of digital technologies across policy areas and levels of government. So, digital technologies, a coherent use of digital technologies. Within the government, as I said, G to G is one, where within the government they should have a good digital technological facility. Within the government and the citizen there should be a digital technology. Like today we have the income tax services. Income tax, to file an income tax, earlier we had to go and stand in the queue, go to the office and then register and get our tax being filed. But today, sit right in front of your laptop or sit right in front of your any device, digital device, you are able to operate it right from your house. And so, you can file in the taxes from your house itself. So, that is what is a coherent use of digital technologies, the utility bills that you pay, so all can come under this particular system. Effective organizational and governance frameworks need to be established to coordinate the implementation of digital strategy. So, since the digital revolution is very high, we need to have certain organizational and governance frameworks also. So, organization has to be taken care of. Structure, organization in the sense we think about the structure. If there is a necessity for a structure revamp, that has to be undertaken. And then the governance measures. Governance measures will have to be, that is, efficient measures have to be there to be, the processes should be very effective and they should also be quite economical. So, that is a next recommendation which has been given by the OECD. And strengthen the international cooperations with other governments. So, the international cooperation between the governments should also be strengthened for us to upgrade in various kinds of revolutions that we have to take up. Agricultural revolution or educational revolution, we need strategic partners for collaborative effort. Then clear business cases must be developed by to sustain the fund. Sustenance is there. Funding is necessary for all activities. Funding is essential. So, borrowing and repaying, that can also have a sustenance effect, because once a nation repays the amount borrowed, then the trust develops. So, everything falls in place. So, digital technologies must be procured based on assessment of existing assets, including digital skills, job profiles, technologies, and general and sector specific legal and regulatory frameworks must be ensured so that digital opportunities can be seized. So, we are into the digital arena. So, when digital arena is there, we have the benefits, we have the drawbacks. To be remaining in that limitation, we require good regulatory laws. We require good principles and rules and laws which can protect us, which can secure us from any kind of harmful effects. So, these are the basic recommendations which are being given by OECD for us to fulfill, for us to have a citizen-centric governance. What are the initiatives? We speak about governance every time, citizen-centric governance. So, here you have the NEGP, that is the National E-Governance Plan. National e-governance, we have a concept of e-government and e-governance. What can be the difference between e-government and e-governance? E-governance is a process. The government follows the e-governance to fulfill the aims of its very own aims. So, e-governance is a process which is being taken care of, which is being abided by the government in the system of technology or system through technology. So, initially we had information technology, but today we move ahead with information and communication technology. So, anything, it is just not passing the information, but also involves communicating the information. So, sharing and transfer of information plus how you communicate the information to the people. So, that is most important. So, National E-Governance Plan came out with a lot of procedures where the e-governance can be functioned, where all it is required. So, that was one of the initiative for citizen-centric governance. 2 is E-Kranti National E-Governance Plan, which is another framework where they transform the governance into the e-governance system. So, governance is very simple. We say it is important for the people, it is for the people, by the people, we put in the democratic principles, but then transforming into e-governance is you directly approach the people. The people find themselves to be very protected here, very secured with the principles of the government. So, prompt services are being offered. So, when certain impact the government provides to the people, then the people themselves would feel very secure. So, E-Kranti is one of the national e-governance plan where they have planned, the motto was transforming governance into transforming e-governance. So, that is a major motto of E-Kranti. And last is the initiative is capacity building scheme. Capacity building scheme in the sense how we can bring the people, that is we have certain actors in the sense the policy actors, who the stakeholders, they can reach out to the people and bring out an awareness. The bureaucrats also who are in the field level, they can bring out their bring out the awareness programs through their expertise. So, through this a capacity building can also happen. So, this is one of the initiatives in citizen centric governance. So, e-governance is very important and we are into that phase of life today. Engagement. What is the difference between the participation, citizen participation and citizen engagement? Citizen participation can be through voice, through their words, to their writings, and they can just volunteer to give their participation. But engagement is where they come into the system and they work for the system. So, citizen engagement is bringing the citizens into the working arena where the government identifies them, and then the citizens also identify what are the drawbacks the government actually faces. So, that is one of the citizen engagement. So, here what are the ways to achieve the citizen engagement? 1. Information sharing. 2. Consultation. So, citizens can be consulted. We have, that is how you engage the citizens. So, bring them into consultation and share the information with them, share the entire situation that is being faced. Citizens can have a lot of ideas, a lot of opinions and consultation facilities through academic services, through executives, the bureaucrats also will have, through various other systems where you can gather the consultation and to develop a good policy for the country. And joint assessment. Joint assessment is citizens can also evaluate whether the policy is right or not. When the reports are being submitted at the union level or the state level, they can justify that with the citizens report also. So, citizens can also be given the provision of assessing in terms of their acceptance. If they are really wanting that system to be enforced, acceptance is quite fast. For example, wearing helmets. Wearing helmets is mandatory to avoid accidents. So, this is one plain statement which we can give it to the citizens and make this as a compulsory, a mandatory law which is actually existing. So, wearing helmets, citizens have also accepted that wearing helmets can protect their lives. So, this is one assessment which the government does. And then let us take another example of sanitation. Sanitation is very important. Maintenance of the sanitation, providing good sanitation facilities is very necessary. So, citizens too accept that sanitation facilities are required and they are also the health indicators. So, an assessment is done from the people's level as well as the government's level. So, there is a joint assessment. So, once the assessment is done, we have a shared decision making and collaboration. So, decision making happens. So, the government is also convinced that their policies are very effective and it will reach the citizens as such through a shared decision making and collaboration. So, government is also happy and so are the citizens. So, that is how the governance actually works. Today you have various, you have the governance, e-governance gives you the 6C models where how you can, the content has to be given, how the delivery has to be taken care of. And in many websites you find You don't have to approach or search for the names, the contact persons, everything is available in your system today, in your websites today. If you want to approach a person in one particular department, you need to go to their website, find out the person and contact them. So, it has become very simple process. So, everything is available in your hand. So, this is one kind of shared decision making. If suppose another aspect is your grievance can be filed. You have a lot of toll numbers. So, these numbers can also help you to reach out the citizens. Their grievances can be shared through these numbers, and in case, for example, if there is a gas leakage in the house. So, what happens immediately, the person can contact the toll number and then the issue is set. So, that is resolved. So, it is a fast process. Initially, earlier that was not the case. It actually took a lot of time, but today everything is at your doorstep. So, these things make a small difference. So, shared decision making and collaboration is very much important, and this is and these 4 points are certain ways to achieve the citizen engagement. Here I have given you this particular slide. You can see the citizen engagement framework. Let us see how the citizen engagement framework actually works. First aspect is define the degree of engagement. We need to identify the degree, but before that we need to undertake the need analysis. What is the need? We need to find out why we require the citizen engagement here. So, once we understand the need, we understand how far the citizens will have to be engaged. So, defining the degree of citizen engagement, and then you go for the citizen engagement team. So, create an engagement team, that is, one person cannot sit and work. If it is going to be a decision making, if it is going to be a collaborative effort between the government and the citizens, one man team will never work, one man show will never work, but then you will have to have a citizen engagement team. So, defining the degree of engagement, if a lower level or a minimal level of people are required, that is one kind of a degree. Another one, if suppose there is a problem, it is a huge issue which has to be faced, then we go for the protest, where all these citizens come together and voice out their opinion. So, that is a way of citizen engagement also, and they take part in the decision making. So, create an engagement team. Third one is undertake the engagement. So, you need to undertake, it is just not, you should not stop with having a citizen engagement team, but you need to undertake it, take it forward. How the policies, the rules, you need to have a set of rules, set of conduct, set of ethics. So, all this has to be taken care of and undertaking the engagement. Then analyze the inputs and provide feedback. So, when you analyze the inputs, what kind of inputs are available? What does the government actually expect from us? So, we need to analyze those inputs and provide the feedback. If one particular aspect the citizens are unsatisfied, that is again an input. So, then a feedback has to be provided. So, this is one aspect, and then institutionalize the engagement. We need to have institutions means we should not, we have a team. This team which does a proper work, gets involved in the work, should actually form an institution as such. It should form as an, it should come up as an organization. So, you need to institutionalize that engagement, where people, like-minded people, the pressure groups or the interest groups, so they all will have to join together in forming an engagement team. So, when this happens, you find a good citizen engagement or a framework is actually set. So, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps which can clearly establish a citizen engagement framework. So, one, undertake the needs analysis, the choices, the preferences, and then define the degree of engagement, create engagement team, undertake engagement, analyze the inputs and provide the feedback, then institutionalize the engagement. So, institutionalization is just not their institutions, it can also have various agencies to support them. So, funding process can also happen there. So, this is the citizen engagement framework. Now, challenges. Citizens do have challenges. Challenges in citizen-centric governance in India happens. What happens is, people do not have the trust and faith in the government. They elect their representatives. The manifestos are immense, they are very large. The number is quite large. So, the manifestos, before getting into power, they come with a big manifesto to impress the people. But then once they get the power, do they fulfill the points that are mentioned in the manifestos is a big question. So, because of that, the people lose the trust in government, number one. Another trust factor is how quick the action is, how prompt is the government in acting. A slow process, the red tapeism, the corruption that happens in between, that makes the people lose trust in the government. So, people have limited trust in the government, which is a serious issue. The government has to take it up. Second one is poverty. People do not have time to engage themselves in the governance when poverty is one underlying factor. When people are suffering under poverty without employment, there is no chance where we can call the citizens to engage. So, that is another factor which hinders or stays as a barrier for citizen-centric governance in India. So, poverty has to be eradicated because it is a big hindrance, and strategies has to be taken up to fulfill that removal of or eradicating the poverty, because this is one of the attribute in sustainable development goals. So, poverty is a major thrust area which has to be concentrated. So, that is also a challenge in this kind of a governance. And low literacy. Low literacy in the case, low literacy means in this case where literacy has become a very, very meager factor. Literacy, it has to reach to the people. People will have to be literate. People will have to be educated. So, literacy is one of the aspects for development. So, education is very important. People will have to be educated. So, this Article 14, if not for the previous generation, the forthcoming generation, the students should be educated. This right to education should reach out to the children up to age 14. Let them be educated so that they understand the nuances of the government, they understand the lacuna faced by the government, because they are the ones who are going to lead the government also, lead the system also. So, they should understand that. So, this challenge is prevalent, and it should actually be, the citizen-centric governance should actually be a part of their curriculum too, so for them to get involved. Then user-friendly applications. So, everywhere the applications are very user-friendly. So, there is a problem in security, privacy is a problem. So, where there should be a security, the security has to be provided, where it is a user-friendly. In operating with the government schemes, that should be a user-friendly process. Otherwise, a security has to be provided to the people. And struggle to change, population, and the lack of integrated services. So, the struggle to change is also there, change is inevitable. So, population is exceeding. So, lack of integrated services also prevail. So, these are the major challenges in citizen-centric governance in India. So, finally, when we are talking about the citizen-centric governance, we had been looking into the features of the citizen-centric governance. We had been looking into what are the challenges that they face, what are the recommendations the OECD has provided for governance, for a good citizen governance. And then finally, we also learnt about the citizen engagement. Citizen engagement is very important for governance. And what are the initiatives which the government took through the National E-Governance Plan? When we are advancing, when we are progressing in this economy, when we are progressing in the system, we should get adapted to that. We should get adapted and adapted to that. We have to be very much involved in the skills. Our skill has to be developed. We have to adopt to the change system without blaming any other factors. So, there is no governance without the citizen. The government requires the citizens also require the government. So, it is a two-way process. So, there is no governance if there are no citizens. And India is also moving up in the ranking of E-Governance Development Index, even though it is considerably low as compared to other countries, and it is ranked at 91. Yes, when we consider India as a developing country, we are also a progressive country. We have upgraded in our technology, the digitalization. People want to market their digital projects, digitalized projects. They want to market so many systems in our country because we give them the opportunities to invest, which is a good sign of growth, which is a good sign of economic development. And so, we are upgrading ourselves in e-technology, in the e-governance, in the technological aspect. India is set to become an ICT superpower in this millennium with electronic governance. Sitting there and myself sitting here, we transfer the knowledge, we share the knowledge through an online system which forms a platform here. So, this is a greatest advantage. Any person can listen to any kind of a talk or a lecture which is being taken up in any part of the world. So, this is an advancement of ICT. And anytime, anywhere, delivery of government services is gradually picking up space. So, the government has given the schemes, the government has provided us. So, any remote place, any area, this will reach through the ICT. But ultimately, the technology has to be developed in those places also. So, which is very, very important. So, citizen-centric interface is where we find the government requiring the help of the citizens requiring the help of the government in aiding us in a very good governance system. Thank you.